Oh, yeah. Okay. I think it's because it's the right thing.
All right, if your team is ready, you can hold up your finger. That'll let me know that you're ready. Yeah, if you have your answer, go ahead and hold it up. All right, go ahead and hold it up, everybody. Okay, no clickers, just hold your fingers up there. Yeah. Okay. All right, so it's very common during these quizzes, during the exams around this time, for people to get up and move around, and that's totally okay, right? You're moving your shoulders, you're doing stuff, you're doing, yeah. So that's, oh, sorry, that's really loud. There you go. Sorry. So don't feel weird about doing that. That's a great thing to do because you're moving around, you're trying to feel what it is, and that's great. Okay. So we're talking about side shuffling to the right. So that would be like this with my right hip. What motion am I doing? My right hip is doing a abduction, right? And then my left hip is doing a deduction. Okay. Right. So we have the right gluteus maximus. Okay. That would be an abductor. Right gluteus minimus abductor. Tensor fascia lata on the right side. That's also an abductor. Okay. Left adductor longus, left adductor brevis. Okay. So D is our correct answer here. Okay. All right. Next one. Which of the following cross more than one joint? So multi-joint muscles. Talk about the actions of all of these muscles with your group.
All of the ones on the and then it's the first one. Like, wait, why are we still going? I don't know the answer.
Is your IT band like part of your tensor fascia ladder? Is there?
It's kind of, yeah, I mean, that's what your tensor fascia lata inserts on. So it kind of serves as the tendon for the tensor fascia lata. Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. So wherever that inserts would be the insertion point of the tensor fascia lata too. Yeah. All right, so just hold up one finger per person. If you've got more than one, then just decide who's holding up which one, so I can figure out which ones you said. Okay. All right, hold them up, please. Okay. So we got a lot of people saying E for 5. Okay, we have some people saying B, and then a couple saying D. And that looks like, yeah, for the most part, that's what people are saying. Okay, so adductor longus comes from up there on the pelvis, right? But it doesn't get all the way down, doesn't cross the knee, right? And so no on that one, okay? Rectus femoris is the one we're just talking about, right? It crosses the knee and the hip, okay? Short head of the biceps femoris, no, all the hamstring muscles come off the ischial tuberosity. And then go down to, most of them go down across the knee, but that one in particular goes down just the back of the femur, right? It doesn't totally cross the knee, so not that one. Gracilis, now this is one where it's important to know origin and insertion in general because most of the adductors don't cross the knee, but this one does, right? This one goes down to that pes anserine, right? That little thing, it's like the goose's foot. It's like three little things that come in right there on the medial side of your tibia, the little flat part, kind of just to the medial side of your patellar tendon there. You got sartorius, gracilis, and semitendinosus that attach right there, right? So gracilis is one of those. So that one crosses the hip and the knee. And then tensor fasciolata is kind of a weird one too, because it goes into the IT band, right? But the IT band goes all the way down to your fibula, right? And so then that means it crosses the knee as well, because it kind of uses the IT band for the tendon. Okay, so that one as well. So B, D, and E. Okay. All right, this one, go ahead and talk about this one and come up with your answer.
Eccentric relax.
I mean, you have to use it to be something. Yeah.
I was like, what's going on there? Has some flexible shoulders. So. Yeah, I see. Wow. Well, all right. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Hold up your answer here. Okay. We got some people voting a bunch. Okay, so we're just talking about the ones acting on the knee only. Okay. If we get the hip involved, it's more complicated. Okay. That change anybody's answers? Okay, so we have concentric actions are actions that the muscles do when they shorten. Those are the ones listed in the notes and listed anywhere when you think about a muscle that's a knee extensor. You're talking about the quads. You're talking about their concentric action. Okay, but that's only half of what they do. Okay, when you take a step, when you step down, if I'm reaching forward and I step down on my right foot, I'm going to go down a little bit, right? As I go down a little bit, my quads are making sure I don't go any further than that, right? So they're lengthening a little bit as I set my foot down, right? That's eccentrically contracting the quads, right? So a lengthening contraction is an eccentric contraction. These are just as important, if not more important, than the ones that we know the muscles as by their concentric actions. Okay, and so when we do something like a squat, contemplating standing on this table again. I'm going to do it because nope, you guys can't see me otherwise. Okay, so when we do a squat, right, we're coming down this way. My knees, what action are my knees doing when I do that? They're flexing. Okay, so which muscles do you know of as my knee flexors? Hamstrings, okay? If I contracted my hamstrings forcefully as I was coming down, what would I do? I would fall off the back of the table, right? My butt would hit the ground really fast, right? It would pull me down further. That's not what we do, right? As I'm coming down, I can feel my quads are contracting for sure. They're forcefully lengthening to allow me to go down slowly, right? That's the eccentric phase. And then when I come back up, now they're forcefully shortening, right? That's the concentric phase. This is how it is with any type of exercise we do. It's going to be the same muscle both ways. We're lengthening the quads here and they're contracting, and then we're shortening them here and they're contracting. Okay, so the action that we know of is always the concentric one, but then they always have their eccentric action is always just the opposite of that while they're lengthening. Okay, so when we're doing a squat, on the way down, we're lengthening the quads, and the quads are helping us do that in a controlled fashion. So we're eccentrically contracting the quads on the way down, and then concentrically contracting them on the way back up. Okay, so it is a confusing concept for sure, and it's something you got to work with. But if you just do that, like it says to do, just actually feel your legs as you're going down in a squat. You'll notice your quads are contracted on the way down and the way up, right? They're contracting both directions. Otherwise, you would just pull yourself down really fast if you contracted your hamstrings to do that. Okay, and we'll get more into that concept as we keep going. But any other questions on that right now? Let's do one more example of that. When you're doing a bench press, okay? When you're doing a bench press, let's think about the shoulder here. You're mainly working your pecs, right? Your pectoralis major muscles, right? As you're coming down, you're eccentrically contracting your pecs to do that, right? And then you come back and you bring it back up, you're concentrically contracting your pecs, okay? Just because my shoulder is extending, I wouldn't contract these ones because then I would just be pulling it down, right? That's not what you're doing. You're slowly lowering it down. So you're using your pecs to do that in an eccentric fashion, and then you use them again in a concentric fashion to push it back up. So it's always going to be the same muscle when you do an exercise like that. It's just going to work eccentrically one way and concentrically the other way. Okay. All right. This one, go ahead. Pushes up with his right leg.
My music's oh, no, he's just like, yeah. Okay. Flexed and then extended. Wait, so you well, that's not in this camp, so I can do it. It's about who's flexing. So you're
All right, go ahead and hold your answers up, please. Okay. So pretty much everybody's saying C. Okay, so the glutes for sure are going to be what action are we doing in his right hip there when he's going to lift up from here and go up, right? Which hip action is going to be happening? Hip extension. Yeah, for sure. When the hip drives back this direction, that's hip extension. Okay, so the glutes do that. And then were there any other ones? Most of you just had C, yeah? Yeah. Yeah, you guys also said B as well. So the hamstrings for sure, because they cross over the hip. All the hamstrings are hip extensors as well as knee flexors, right? They're knee flexors, but they're also hip extensors because it's one of those two joint muscles, right? Good. Okay, next one, other leg. Okay, now he's going to bring this leg up, all right?
It's the only one of your quads. Yeah. I always say guys. No, it's good. Okay. Maybe we'll take this. Yeah.
All right, if you got your answer, go ahead and hold it up. Okay, hold all your answers up there, please. Go ahead. Okay. All right, so mostly everybody is saying A. Okay. Iliopsoas. This is what's known as the primary hip flexor, right? This is kind of like our strongest hip flexor. Okay, comes all the way from the back of from the anterior side of our vertebrae, right? Like in our lumbar vertebrae, and then comes down to the front side of our femur to do hip flexion. Okay, a lot of you also said C, rectus femoris. This is that quad muscle that crosses over the hip, right? And then a couple of you also threw in pectineus, which is a trickier one. Pectineus is kind of more of an adductor, but because of where it is, because it's so high up on the hip, it also serves as a bit of a hip flexor too. So pectineus is also there. Okay. All right. Questions on that? Go ahead, Katie. No, it's a shortening in this case. Yeah, because I pretty much picture it like here. It's kind of coming right here. So when it shortens, it pulls up like that. This is concentric because it's shortening. Yeah. These are all concentric actions here for sure. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'll make sure to tell you if I'm talking about an eccentric action. Yeah, good question. Good clarification. Okay, other questions on that? Okay, hamstrings, go ahead.
Wait, what? Tendinous medial. I mean, more in the middle.
All right, go ahead and hold up your answer if you're ready here. Hold it up, please. Okay, so we got a bit of a mix out there, but most people are saying E. Okay, yeah, so E, so biceps femoris is the most lateral. Okay, semitendinosus is in the middle, and semimembranosus is the one furthest on the medial side. Okay, all right, so that's going to show us how we stretch these muscles as well. Okay, yeah, and so talk about that with people on your team for a second. Go ahead and vote when you're ready. I won't even start the timer. So you're trying to lengthen that biceps femoris as much as possible. You could try it too. You could just kind of do it one way, do it the other way, see where you feel it on the outside or the inside.
Yeah, like if you lay on the front.
All right, go ahead. Hold up your answer. A, B, or C here. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we got most teams saying C. So C would be biceps femoris for sure. This one, B would be for the other two, because both the other two are the medial hamstrings, right? But if you kind of think about your ischial tuberosity here, and then all the muscles are coming from one spot, right? So two come over here medially, the other one comes laterally. Okay, so they kind of like fan out from that ischial tuberosity. So taking it over in C, like taking it across your body like this, makes that lateral hamstring the longest, and then going the other way would make the medial hamstrings the longest. So you're just trying to think about what would kind of make this muscle the longest, right? So definitely C here. Okay. And then go ahead. What would your vote be here? We're about out of time. So just hold up your fingers. Yeah, so hip knee flexion for sure. That's what all of the quad muscles do. And then it's also a hip flexor. So we got to do knee extension. So that's just like grabbing your foot and pulling it up like this, right? Doing that one. Okay. And then lastly, the one that I showed you the other day, the first time I got up on the table and when my knee kind of caved in, that's pretty much hip adduction. That's kind of a similar idea as to what the video is. I'm not going to play the video, but so pretty much we need to strengthen our hip abductor to make sure that your knee doesn't cave in when you go down in a single leg squat like that. Okay. So which one of these would be a hip abductor? Abductor. Gluteus medius, right? So your hip is when your knee caves in like that, your hip is adducting. So we got to do the opposite of that, which would be abduction, which is gluteus medius. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you on Wednesday.